Let's play a game. Okay, but really, I was going somewhere with that, and then I didn't know where I was going, so I just stopped. But for this movie, strong spoiler warning. This movie is a movie that you need to watch the whole thing before you hear anything about it. So if you're considering listening to this episode and then deciding whether you want to watch the movie, just go watch the movie and then come back and listen to the episode.
Or it will be ruined.
Yeah, you won't have any fun. You won't like this movie at all.
Probably not.
Probably not.
You know what movie you will like? Saw.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
This movie inspired Saw.
Let's play a game.
Maybe not quite, but maybe a little bit.
What if they're in the same universe?
That would be cool.
That'd be really cool.
And then what if Jigsaw was like got his hands on Michael Douglas because he's never had an actor that big.
What if Jigsaw was young Michael Douglas or old Michael Douglas?
Old Michael Douglas. That would be interesting. Who's the guy who plays Jigsaw?
I don't know. He's like some old guy.
Yeah, some old guy they pulled off the street in the first movie, and they're like, "Well, now we have to have
Now we
you
have to
in all
make
the
a
other ones."
franchise out of this guy. Let's just give him not a lot of speaking lines.
Okay. The real reason why there was so much like torture was because they were like, okay, we really can't do anything with this guy. We got to just really play up the violence and the gore. I feel like we've talked about Saw so much on the podcast.
I think there's 10 movies, right?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
maybe
there's
9.
There's 9. There's
Okay.
7 in the original series, right?
Yeah, and then there's Jigsaw and Spiral.
And Spiral. And there'll probably be, Spiral 2? Spiral...
Jigsaw, Spiral, and Swirly Thing.
Swirly. I would love it if they made a movie called Swirly Thing.
Samuel Jackson again. No, it's Morgan
I
Freeman.
want them to make I want Rick and Morty to make an episode that's making fun of Saw. That's
That'd
what
be
I
cool.
want. I'm surprised they haven't done that yet.
Rick would make a great Saw.
He would.
He'd be like, let's play a game.
But I think he'd just get bored of it after a while.
Yeah, he'd be like, this torture's so boring, and just walk away and
like,
blow
it's
it up.
this is such a... Yeah, you just blow it up. And then Morty would be like, what? That was my girlfriend.
And she'd
Something
be
like
dead, and that'd be the episode.
And then that's it. And then they move on to the next episode like nothing happened.
And they state that they don't care.
Yep. Nihilism for the win, am I right?
Sure.
Well, I don't think this movie is nihilistic. And that movie that we're talking about is The Game, which was released in 1997 and was directed by a guy who the Movie Vault knows well, David Fincher.
David Keener?
No, not David Keener. Although the Movie Vault knows him better.
No, we know David Fincher very well.
Yeah, we're pretty good friends with David Fincher.
Mm-hmm.
We joined his fight club, and that was pretty fun.
I
Most
beat
people
him.
don't know that he actually runs a fight club, because he's a pretty mild-mannered guy. I mean, he kind of stays out of the public eye, but that's why.
I beat him. I also beat Ben.
Yeah, it was pretty sad.
Oh, but we're talking about it.
But the thing about Fight Club is you want to lose because
And-
you just want to feel pain.
And we
So you
broke
feel
rule number
human.
1.
Oh dang, we're so terrible. This movie made $109.4 million on a $70 million budget with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 76%. So a little bit more mixed than some of the Marvel movies we review. Okay, so Botch Watcher top notch on this one.
Ooh. It's not top notch.
No, I agree, not top notch.
I'd say watch. I don't want to say botch. Like, it could be botch, honestly, but I don't want to say botch because it was a good plot, honestly.
I'm gonna say watch. I really, really like this movie, but I probably like it like more than it deserves to be liked. But I like it a lot, so I'm gonna say watch, because. But I also don't think it's top notch, especially after a second viewing, because the twists and turns kind of are a huge part of it. So on second viewing, it's not quite as deep as maybe you think it is the first time you watch it. And for people like Zach who are really intelligent, they probably see through that like immediately after the first viewing. So that's what I would say.
I'm not going to deny anything.
Yeah,
I'm just joking. No.
I just throw praises on Zach, and I just expect him to be like, "Oh no, Ben, you're so smart. You go Ben," and he's just like, "Yep." Just agrees with me. I'm like, "Come on, Zach.
What?
You're supposed to be returning the favor here."
I like to take. I don't like to
This
give.
is a one-way relationship. I give Zach praise, he takes it.
Yeah, that's why it works. For me. Our quote of the movie is by Nicholas Van Orton, and it's a quote that I hold dear to my heart. Greed is good.
Yeah.
Is it, Ben?
Well, if Nietzsche is correct and greed is love, then I guess greed is good.
All right, let's stop the philosophy train right there. Let's just stop it right at the start.
Okay, so there's this guy named Friedrich Nietzsche, and I'm just kidding. I'm just regurgitating like 4 episodes of a podcast that I listened to, and I didn't
You
even.
listen to other podcasts?
Yeah, that's true. I was cheating on our podcast. I was listening to Philosophize.
I hate it when I cheat on myself.
Yeah, I mean, I cheated on half of the pod. Like I can't cheat on myself, but like I cheated on you, I guess.
Every time you date someone else, are you cheating on yourself?
It's too late to think about this question. Like, what do you mean by? I guess in a way. I mean, it depends on how you define cheating. And if you think of marriage as one person, then I guess in a way.
I'm not saying marriage.
No, but I guess I don't know then. It's an interesting question that will probably never be answered.
Yeah, but except I have the answer, but I'm not telling.
Oh, great. Another one of those people. I'll sell the answer to you for $300. Last time I did that.
Not $300, just 10 payments of $30 monthly.
Last time I did that, I got busted for plagiarism, so.
Really?
No. I'm just making stuff up. No, guys, I'm not a plagiarizer. I didn't. Okay, I didn't do it. So the plot of this movie is, I'm going to also emphasize spoilers again because this will completely ruin it. So there's this guy who's a millionaire, like investment banker dude named Nicholas Van Orton. And he meets up at the start of the movie after doing some investment banker stuff.
Very specific.
It's like just random, gobbledygook about like trading things and money moving around. Nobody
Gotta move
actually
the money and make the money.
Nobody really knows what's happening, but it's making money and money is being made. So that's what matters. And then Sean Penn shows up as Conrad Van Orton, and also that we know from the start of the movie that Nicholas Van Orton's had some sort of tragic incident in his past where his dad jumped off and killed himself. Anyway, so Conrad gives him a gift, and it's like this card that's called, from this company called Consumer Recreation Services. And they say, want to play this game?
Want to play a game?
But you don't know what the game is. So when you sign up, you go to this place where you meet Jim Feingold, and he takes you through this program. So basically what happens is they just tell you that they're going to do these things and assess you, and then they'll figure out whether or not your application is successful to be a part of the game. So he does this, and then he goes to fire Anson Bear, and because he didn't make enough money for the company or whatever, and the board's really mad about it. They were calling him on the phone. They were like, "We are furious about this guy losing 2 cents on every investment or whatever." So he goes and he's about to fire him, and then his briefcase. Oh, and he saw this clown and he got a key at his house. There's just this clown. It was just part of the
they
thing.
never explained that, really.
And the TV. The TV switches from being this news guy to actually talking to him, and he's having a conversation with the guy on TV, which is kind of strange. I guess they probably would have explained that by some sort of weird way that they were able to manipulate the pixels, which was far too advanced for the 90s. Let's just be honest, they could not have done that.
It was better off unexplained, as they did.
Yes. Yeah. People nowadays, people try to explain too much, I think. That's maybe one of Marvel's downfalls. Sometimes they just they try to explain everything, but it's all made up.
Sense.
It's all made up. So
it's the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Hank Pym would know that. Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas, exactly. They try to make all these quote unquote scientific reasons why things work, and it's just made up stuff based on very loose theories that they don't really understand anyway. So
hey, you never know. Maybe
they hire on some sort of physicist, but even the physicist probably doesn't really understand that much of how quantum. Anyway, that you know what I'm saying. He's trying to fire him, but the briefcase doesn't open. He throws a hissy fit, and then he goes back. And at this point, things start going downhill. He meets this waitress at a restaurant who runs into him. They have to resuscitate this old guy having a heart attack, but it was all staged, and they're at a hospital now, and everything's broken down, and things start getting all out of whack. And he gets out of it. He and this girl get out of the situation somehow. And he goes back to his house, and he's trying to figure things out. But then at some point, there's a break-in at his house, and then his brother comes, and his brother starts saying that, hey, I was actually set up by this company, and they're trying, and then he gets mad at Nicholas because he thinks Nicholas is part of CRS, and it basically looks like Conrad's having a mental breakdown. So things are starting to fall apart all around Nicholas. Nicholas, I sort of don't exactly know the order, but I know the important part is he ends back up with the girl who he's, from his understanding, is named Christine, in this house. And at this point is when he starts to realize that it could be a con job that's going on, because they're manipulating him to try to figure out his bank account information to steal all of his $600 million that he has.
For moving money.
For moving money into different investments, I guess. For like payroll and because they don't just keep cash sitting around when they pay people. They have to keep it in investments so it doesn't lose its value. So this is very problematic. But then even Christine turns on him and drugs him, and he wakes up in Mexico, and he has to sell his gold watch that was from his mother to come back to the United States. And he is not too happy when he gets back. He's trying to figure out who's behind it. He's trying to pull back the curtain. And he finally locates Jim Feingold, who he has figured out is an actor. And he also throws up what seems to be a wrench in the plan by bringing a real gun. And then he goes to the CRS headquarters. He sees a room. There was another movie that this happens. I'm thinking of Ending Things, where there's like all the characters are in the end scene. I just ruined that. Well, I don't think you can't really understand. I'm thinking of Ending Things, so I don't
even know what you mean. So it's fine.
So you like you see all the people who were in the movie at the end of the movie.
Well, like that's not a spoiler. It's fine.
Yeah. But he clearly realizes that they were all actors. But he kind of knew that already because he knew that there was a game going on.
But he was confused like the whole time, like whether or not it was a game,
Yeah. What happened was they were definitely trying to convince him that that it was more than a game in the game. So at this point, he's pretty convinced that the game is a con job, and what's the consequences of what's happening apply to real life. And so he's so convinced of this, and then people start shooting at him, and Jim Feingold falls down to the ground, riddled with bullets. He goes up to the roof, and he has Christine with him with a gun, and he says he's gonna shoot her, and she starts panicking. She was like, because she realizes he has a real gun. She says it was all fake. Like it was this is even part of the game, the part where we went to Mexico, the part where the money was being moved around, everything that was still part of the game. It's not real. There was a scene in the movie where a taxi driver drives him off. She said that there was a dive team down there. If he really was about to die, they would have rescued him. Everything was part of the game. And he doesn't believe her because they have convinced him so much that it's not. And he's going to shoot the first person who comes out of the door, who happens to be his brother Conrad, who is coming with champagne and a birthday cake.
Aww.
And he shoots the bottle and it hits him in the stomach. And it looks like, and then Jim Feingold, who is somehow not dead because they didn't use real bullets, says, "Oh my gosh, she's dead. We're all going to go to jail." And this just completely crushes Nicholas Van Orton, who decides to follow in the footsteps of his father and jump off the roof. And he jumps into a dramatic fall. And then he goes through breakaway glass. And he lands on a giant, protective floaty thing, hits the target. And he's not dead. And neither is his brother, because it was all just a game. Even the part where he had a real gun or supposedly a real gun, and And
True. It could have been fake again.
it could have been a fake gun, and that he thought was real because they like replaced it. Because that's how advanced that they were. Like, you know, and then it's this whole team of people that they do have to pay that goes apparently and does these very elaborate, you know, things with all these different actors to manipulate people into thinking that the situations that they're in are part of a game, and apparently thinking that the games are a fake setup, which is very interesting. All of this is, of course, very expensive. But then he goes and sees Christine, whose name is Claire, and they go ride to the airport to drink coffee in
Aww.
a romantic sunset.
It's kind of like Inception.
Yeah, like it's an illusion,
Do you know it's a dream?
and then it's like the illusion starts to become an illusion within the illusion. I think you're right.
But like it's all one game, but like he doesn't know that.
Yeah, because it's the layering of the game that starts to get confusing.
And it didn't even get that layered, to be honest. There's like
no,
two
there's
layers.
like 2 layers.
But
There's not more than 2 layers, I don't think.
when you layer something like that, it goes into Community, Rick and Morty level type of stuff.
But maybe if you're also think about this. This movie came out before all that stuff. So it would have been like if you would have watched this movie before that, it might have been kind of. I mean, this is before even Christopher Nolan was a thing. So this was kind of like
Christopher Nolan became a thing?
yeah.
A fetus?
I mean, yeah. No, okay, he was already a thing, but yeah, he had made maybe one movie at this point that nobody watched. So, except for studio execs, I guess. But not everybody shared my exuberance for this film. And Kevin N. LaForest was one of them. He said, "You know how some films could be great or have indeed some great moments, but for some
No.
reason are disappointing? This piece is exactly in that category." Wow.
Aww.
He's being pretty just straight up. He's just being pretty honest. He's like, I think there's some parts about this movie that are great, but I just don't like it. It's kind of what he was saying. It's hard to argue with that, you know? It's hard to argue with somebody just being like, yeah,
Well,
this
that's
isn't
just
really
your
my thing.
opinion, Kevin.
Yeah.
LaForest.
Kevin LaForest, who can always be a pessimist.
Ken.
Yeah. But you know what's not a game?
What?
Getting insurance.
Is it?
It's not a game.
Oh, I
you can't
mean-
play around with that stuff. You gotta get it. You gotta get auto and home insurance from a Hedman Anglin agency, because otherwise, or business, otherwise, you know, when you crash your car, I mean, that's not part of the game, or probably not.
Hopefully not.
I mean, in this game it was, but and they probably had insurance for that. But in other games, and if you want to set an elaborate game for your friends to sign on to, you're gonna need
buy them insurance as part of the game.
some game insurance. You know, I don't know how that works. Like, I want to do this elaborate thing that could put my friend's life in danger, but they're consenting to it, so I'm gonna get insurance for that. That's somewhat crazy. But if you anything like that, call 614-486-7300. That's 614-486-7300.
Woo!
And if you contact them, make sure to tell them that Ben and Zach sent you. So, you know, as far as sentimentally about this movie, I actually, for some reason, there's just movies that sort of grab me. And there's not always any rhyme or reason for why they grab me, but this
Tell
is
them to
one of
stop
those
grabbing
movies.
you.
I know. Yeah, they're just putting their hands all over me, and it's disgusting.
I'm sorry, Ben. Tell me more.
Maybe that's part of their game that they're playing with me. But this movie was one of those movies that's just like, I mean, I know that maybe it's trying to come off as deeper than it actually is, because everybody's seen the movie about the rich guy who had to be taught a lesson, which is kind of just what this movie is.
It's a Christmas Carol.
Yeah, but it's just like maybe this movie is just a super complicated version of Scrooge.
Yeah.
Like Scrooge without any ghosts.
Well, Scrooge, if you don't really learn a lesson.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe the lesson wasn't as obvious.
Yeah, but
He
it
learns-
doesn't show him learning anything.
I mean, yeah, you're right. The transition is kind of quick.
It doesn't show anything. He just hugs his brother.
No, he starts to, when he asks forgiveness from his ex-wife, that's like
Yeah,
are
but
supposed
that
to show
I don't
him.
count that because his ex-wife kissed him on the lips. I disregard that scene.
Well, no, that's just how they greet each other.
No, it's not. That's weird.
I didn't say it wasn't weird. I'm just saying that was more of a greeting kiss or a
No.
goodbye kiss. Not
No,
like
that's like a "I'll see you tonight" kiss.
no, that wasn't.
Yes, it is.
No, you saw how their lips went together. That was not a romantic kiss.
Well, she's stuck with the kid and her new husband. I would go for the old guy, especially Michael
Who has a lot of
Douglas.
money? She's like, I actually don't. She's pregnant.
Yeah, with Michael's baby.
No, not his baby. With
You know-
Mel's baby. Mel, the
you-
gynecologist.
You don't know.
I guess I don't know. I didn't see the like pregnancy test or whatever they do. The paternity
You
test.
didn't see the what?
Yeah, I didn't see that either. Okay, so now, what did you think about it?
I don't know.
Zach
I
needs.
liked it. It was good, but like, I think I liked it a lot just because it's Michael Douglas. I mean, that really just hit it for me.
So he just really likes the surface level.
Yeah, I just like how the people look.
Yeah, though I mean he does look cool. He is very well cast
Yeah,
for this movie.
and his voice is cool.
Yeah.
It's like kind of higher pitched, but like
Yeah.
it's also like manly.
Yeah, when he gets out from the ocean and he's just like, or whatever. That was pretty. That Zach laughed pretty hard. At
Yeah,
that.
that was the girl, like the weirdest. I don't know, gasp. I guess.
Yeah, it was a gasp.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. The message of this movie. Okay, here's where we'll have a. So I think the message is that you don't have to follow in the footsteps of your father. That seemed to be a big part of this. Like he felt like he had to take on all the responsibility of his father. Like Conrad was saying, nobody asked you to be dad. You know, like nobody asked you because apparently he had been sort of like. It sounded like his brother maybe had some addiction problems at some point and maybe some mental health issues. So it sounded like Nicholas had been trying to help him out through that, but Conrad was not necessarily. But then again, that was part of the game. So it seems like at this point, by the end, Conrad actually had his life pretty well together to the point that he could create an elaborate ruse to manipulate his brother into changing as a person. So this is like this. I think it's like the most extreme intervention possible. They were like trying to have him stop being a jerk. You know, that was the whole. But that's it. It was like. But was firing that guy really that bad? Isn't that what you have to do if you're like?
I don't get.
And then at the end, the guy's like, "I'm glad you fired me."
Yeah.
So then it was like, what was the point? Was it just because he was firing that guy that they were doing it?
I'm confused still. Like, why through those circumstances would I learn a lesson?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, they didn't really set it up enough to understand what merited him going through the game. You know?
Yeah. What
Like-
did he do?
Like, what did he do? And you know he's rich.
That's
and
wrong.
He he lives by himself because apparently he didn't open up enough to his wife. But does he really need to go through this extreme of an intervention for those like two things? You know, they didn't. He wasn't like specifically targeting his wealth to try to hurt people on purpose to gain more wealth. You know, there might have been side effects. That's always true of economics. Like economics can always hurt some people.
And I'm confused on like why his brother felt the need to do this extreme intervention when like his brother obviously probably didn't have as much money as him and it looked like a super expensive type of thing.
So where did he get the money to pay half the bill? Like he was saying, "Oh, do you want to split
But he
it?"
was expecting to pay the full thing, so I mean he's got to have some money.
Right.
I don't know.
Maybe he no, it didn't seem like he had any ties to CRS, you know. Like
And by the way, CRS changed throughout the movie, like the name. Did you notice that? So like in some places it was like cable repair specialist.
yes. Yeah, I did notice that. I think I noticed that more the first time.
Yeah.
Like I know the cable truck was like it was like parked outside and you saw cable repair stuff. She's like, "Oh, so that's like their
Yeah.
disguise."
So they just keep going like wherever they need to go.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be a cool job, but they also alluded to briefly how it would be very confusing because you're living all these different lives and you have to get it's like such character acting. Because like that guy like had a family, but they weren't like his real family. It was like Black Widow.
It's true. And what was it? The girl, Christine or
Yeah,
Claire,
Christine.
she said, "Oh yeah, I gotta be in Australia soon." So I feel like the lifestyle wouldn't be that great.
Yeah, it's a lot of traveling. And she was like, I'm from Oklahoma, Colorado. She was like forgot where she was born, or because she had so many different characters who were born in different places that she was probably just like made a double take. Like, wait, that was actually where I was born, right?
Once you
That's
join
gotta
the
be
CRS, you can't get out.
Yeah, I was like, do you quit this at some point, or you just spend your whole life traveling? I don't know.
And I wonder how it's such a secret, you know?
Yeah, how does nobody know about this? Like, they would never work. Well, the internet was around then, 1997.
I mean, kind of like people weren't into it. Like they
I
are
guess this
now.
was like not quite as big of a thing, but now there'd be like a whole Reddit thread exposing the CRS. Like,
Yeah,
everybody
Reddit
should-
solves a lot of crimes. You know that?
Yeah,
It's funny.
but
You-
nobody takes them seriously, so they maybe that's what it would be like. Oh yeah, it's sure CRS does that. Be like, yeah, of course. r/CRS lies or whatever.
Yeah.
The character arcs, well, we were just complaining about them because
Claire's was weird. She didn't
Claire's
really
was
have
weird.
one.
Well, she didn't have one because it wasn't her real person who was arcing. It was a
But, like,
fake
the-
person.
I know there is only a possibility for one character arc, right?
Yeah, because every other character arc is fake.
And he didn't even go through circumstances to lead him to learn a lesson.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he changed somewhat, but we didn't even really get that much time to see how
But,
much
like,
he
what
changed.
did he need to change from, and to what did he change?
Yeah, it was kind of unclear. So, that's, yeah, not the strongest, maybe. The cinematography was excellent, but that's to be expected. Fincher is known for taking hundreds of takes before he gets the perfect one, you know?
That would be so annoying.
Yeah, so he's very annoying to work with, but he's very good at what he does because of it. There was one scene where they, like, the bus took off and they, like, focused perfectly on this, like, these, like, soda bottles as the bus was. It was just, like, wow, that was an amazing shot. And it's just of, like, a bus, you know? That's what David Fincher does when he makes movies.
Or that scene where he's taking the red tape out of that clown's mouth.
Yeah.
I don't know why I liked that specific weird scene, but I did.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that Fincher does is he makes the unspectacular spectacular. I'm saying that sort of hyperbolically, you know, it's like not exactly that interesting, but it's more interesting than it would be if just your standard director did
So
it.
it's not like Quentin Tarantino where you're making a boring situation into a fun one.
It's more like the mundane is appreciated more.
Appreciate is a good word instead of like spectacular.
Yeah, that's why I said I was saying it hyperbolically because
Yeah.
it's not necessarily like the most interesting. Like it's not like funny or super engaging, but it's just
It's
like
just like a shot of a clown, you know?
right. But it somehow like makes you take the time to like really take it all in, you know. And he did. I thought the first thing I liked about this movie a little bit, and maybe this touches more on originality and style, but is I thought this movie sort of blends surrealism with a very concrete plot. So like this movie reminds me of a lot of more surreal movies that I've watched. Like I mentioned, I'm thinking of Ending Things, and like 8½, or movies like that have scenes like at the end of this movie where like there's all the people that you saw in the movie gathered in one place. It's like it's not that part is not an original thing. It's for sure been done before. But those movies that I'm referencing are like much more abstract than this movie. Like this movie ties everything up sort of into a neat little bow, which is like turns on the head of what like surrealism is supposed to be. Like surrealism is supposed to be like the more and more you get into the movie, the less and less you like can make sense of everything because there's more situations that are like what's reality and what's not reality, and sometimes that's good and sometimes it's like really depressing. It just depends on what movie it is. But this movie definitely was it's definitely like Fincher's definitely not trying to do something super abstract here, but he takes some of that styling, especially with like the flashback scenes and stuff, and he like turns it into, and he like uses it to his advantage to
Yeah,
keep
those
the
scenes
plot
were
going.
good where it would flash back really quick and like the shots looked good. I don't know.
Yeah,
And like the fact that he made it look really old because it was a long time ago.
yeah.
And then like there's like his dad was seen far away and it's just like what is this guy standing on a roof and then he jumps off and you're like whoa.
I'm trying to think whether he did something similar to that in Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. Maybe he did it for like one sequence or something.
That's when she got her tattoo.
Yeah. No, it's not. That movie is super dark. If you ever want to watch a super dark movie.
Okay.
Let's see. What is? Yeah. So, do you think? Would you call this original or is it just?
It's 1991. You said no Inception.
97. No Inception. Not even M. Night Shyamalan. Like he's the twist king.
I'd say it's pretty original, honestly.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard with these movies because it's like you're trying to go back in time to a time that we weren't even alive. So it's like hard to understand the context. But we're trying.
No, we know.
You're like, this is the point in the episode where people are like, I should only be listening to 50-year-olds making movie podcasts because they have been around longer.
Yeah, but we have updated scientific textbooks to learn from.
Yeah. But what you don't understand is that obviously the generation that is in their 20s is the smartest always. So
Not
they're the
next
ones
one.
driving progress other than the generation that's younger than us.
Because they're gonna be lazy.
They're going to be lazy and just make TikTok dances. So
Yeah.
they won't even start a podcast.
I feel like that's part of our generation.
Actually,
too.
that's not necessarily true because every TikTok star has started a podcast, I'm pretty sure at this point.
Logan Paul.
And like the D'Amelios.
They have a
and-
pod. What?
Yeah. I can't imagine how boring that I mean, I'm saying that like our podcast is interesting, but like that podcast has to be so
I'm sorry,
boring.
Charlie and Dixie.
Bryce Hall has like a investing podcast or something.
Oh,
Like
of
a
all the
Bitcoin-
people,
Yeah. I think he does. I gotta look this up now. This is gonna be interesting. Yeah, Bryce Hall. Let's see, podcast. No, I guess maybe he doesn't. One of those TikTok people has a podcast about investing in Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure, which is pretty typical, and I think they're doing pretty well. It's very interesting how
course.
some of the smartest TikTok creators have parlayed they're like Nicholas Van Orton. They have parlayed. Well, they're not actually like Nicholas Van Orton at all, because he probably like at least went to college or something. They have parlayed their physical, like success of dancing and stuff, or like I mean people follow them because they think they're attractive or whatever, or they think they're cool, and they have parlayed that into making actual money, on other things.
make a brand of yourself.
So I can't say that that's like once, because you have to understand that of course it's going to come to an end. So I can't say that they're not smart in some ways. I just don't know that it's good for society as a whole. that is a thing, because then there's millions of people who think they can do the same thing and they can't.
What? You don't want to get Khloe Kardashian? What's it? Khloe's makeup brand? Kylie's makeup brand. First youngest billionaire ever.
Youngest billionaire ever. And then Kanye has like 6 billion now or what, or something. I don't know. It's hard. It depends on how they value things though. But she apparently going into cosmetics is pretty lucrative if you are a model. Probably makes sense. What do you think about the acting in this movie?
I thought Claire Christine was pretty bad.
You weren't a big fan of Deborah Kara Unger.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Deb.
She wasn't really in that. I mean, I'm looking at the movie she was in. Like Crash is like the biggest one. So I feel like she's not kind of a B-list actor.
Probably
Like,
C.
She was in Highlander 3. Like, that's I haven't even watched the first Highlander. Didn't they reference Highlander in Rick and Morty one episode?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but she's not.
That's as far as we know about it.
That's what we know about it. Is that? But so many things have been referenced in Rick and Morty, so that doesn't even matter.
You're like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
For
But-
no reason.
Here's an interesting thing. Spike Jonze who is a director, was the EMT. Spike Jonze directed Her, and I've actually never seen any of his movies, I don't think, but I know they're known for being very meta, because he made like Being John Malkovich, an adaptation.
That's right up our alley.
Yeah, I know. We should watch this at some point. But adaptation's the one where like Nicolas Cage plays like two characters who look exact or something like that. It's weird. It seems like yeah, some people really like that movie. That's probably true of every movie though, so it's not really that interesting that I
Not
say
the
something
Emoji
like
Movie.
that. Some people think the Emoji Movie is
Did you
interesting.
say I?
Yeah, I like stuttered.
Oh,
It was like I stuttered and said some sort of like,
Cover up.
random thing. I was like, I think that you think that the Emoji Movie. Oh, Zach thinks the Emoji Movie is good.
Stop it.
See, now I'm getting at Zach back. I'm revealing his secrets because he didn't return praise at the earlier part of the episode.
I only say.
Still mad at you about that.
I only say things when I want to. Just like right now.
No, you can't. You're not allowed to do that. You have to say things because you want to manipulate the responses of other people. So you can't just say whatever you want.
Yeah, but that's what I want.
Because that makes chaos when you say whatever you want.
Yeah, but that's what I want.
You want chaos.
No, I want.
So you want a dictator. No, but you're not manipulating if you're saying what's going through your head, because then you're being completely transparent about your.
My transparency is manipulation, Ben. That's how far I am in.
Man, this is getting complicated. It seems like we should make our own version of the game, Zach's game, that he plays with every person.
We were both saying that during the movie that we should make our own games for like our friends. Or
That
something.
would be so much. I mean, it's
It'd be
probably
a
a
lot of
really
work.
bad idea, but it's so fun. I feel like there's a philosophy out there from some of the philosophies I've heard. One of these like just really far-reaching, or they're really a reach, is what I'm saying. Like there's no evidence for them, but you also can't disprove them, which is most of philosophy.
True.
Which is that, you were born into the game and everyone is playing it, but nobody knows it. Doesn't really make sense, but probably somebody's, formulated that thought. But if you did it with your friends, you'd have to have it be self-contained enough, because this movie had so many contingency plans based on like the reactions of people. It was insane. The levels of that they were able to manipulate the person. That's why they do all the psychology tests and stuff, so they can figure out how they're gonna react. And but I think in real life it would fall apart pretty quickly. Like
Yeah,
I don't think you could plan.
You could do
out.
a shorter one.
You could do a shorter.
Yeah,
version
not like a 3-day or 2-day or whatever. I don't even know.
How long?
Like
It probably
4
took. How many days do you think it took him to get to Mexico and back? It was like he was just in Mexico randomly. Would you have rather him just died at that part? And
Yes,
then it ended the
that'd
movie?
be so cool.
That would have been a daring way to end the movie.
And then they take his money,
And
and
they
then it's
take
like the CRP gets away.
It was like there's nothing to learn from this movie other than people will try to screw you over if you're rich.
No big corporations or insurance companies are always trying to get your money,
Yeah, and this is no different. I mean, one guy in the world of big business, he can't even protect himself, even if he's rich.
Even if he's at the top.
So imagine if you're at the bottom, then you really can't protect yourself.
Or the bottom's the one's winning, getting the top.
Maybe, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. That I mean, in
It's
some
not,
weird
no,
way, that's
definitely
possible.
not.
Well, if suffering is a good thing, then the people at the bottom are winning. Because that is a theory. Some people have theorized that you have to suffer in order for life to be fulfilling.
Well, then
So
my
if-
life is very fulfilled.
But if you only suffer, then can you truly? I don't know. This is all based on like just trying to grapple with our fallen world, though. So, of course, there's going to be suffering, and it's not always going to make sense. I think.
Hey.
So the score of this movie is really, really good.
Yeah.
It's got a kind of interlude that it returns to often when they're trying to build tension.
It's like the piano keys. It reminded me of Halloween.
Yes, it did.
Like that's what I was thinking throughout this movie. Like, and
And they used the song White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane, which is a pretty good song. But also, it's interesting use in this movie because that's like a 60s psychedelic song, and this is not really that style of movie, but it still fits somehow, even though it's not 60s psychedelic. And then choreography. It's very good for the most part. Other than the fact that how did the bullets not hit them?
Oh yeah, the stormtrooper shots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I
those
guess
are
they were
pretty
doing that on purpose because they didn't actually want to hit him because then you know the bullets weren't real.
And they're the main characters.
So in that sense, they had to be really good to not hit him because they're using machine guns.
They could have been fake.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't even know what choreography was in this. I mean,
Yeah.
jumping off. Is that choreography?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a lot. There's not like fights, you know. It's just running around.
The car scene where his car went underwater was cool.
He did not know how to hold a gun. You mentioned that.
Yeah, it looked like a water gun.
Yeah. Oh well. Hopefully he can go to some gun training later.
He already did in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
That's a good point. He grew up to do bigger and better things. Both movies set in San Francisco, by the way.
Yeah, they're in the same universe.
Which I was going to say it was a David Fincher thing, but it's not because it's a Michael Douglas thing, I guess. But David Fincher made another movie in San Francisco, Zodiac. So.
Oh.
So.
Is Michael Douglas in that at all?
No, he's not.
Just
but
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. and
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of MCU people.
That is another pretty good movie. You know, Fincher's one of those guys that I've never watched a movie of his and been like, this wasn't that good. You know, like every movie that I've watched of him, most movies that I've watched by David Fincher, I've given 4.5 stars. I've not given any of them 5 stars, but the lowest one I've given is 4, and I think that was Girl with a Dragon.
You
Tattoo.
gave this 4.5 stars?
Yeah.
Wow, that's high.
I know it's very high, probably unwarranted, but I like it. So if I was being truly honest, it would probably only get 3.5 stars. But I'm not being truly honest.
I give this 3 stars.
I'm being delusional. So I would in Letterboxd I give it 4.5 stars. This I give it an A- on the podcast.
Yeah, I give it an A- too. Maybe even a B+.
Yeah, I mean I think that's fair. I think that a B+ might be more accurate to how you described it.
Yeah.
In the rest of the episode. But this will be interesting. Britta Moments with Britta
Perry.
So the plot holes.
I didn't think Christine was needed.
At all?
At all.
So she was just like a typical like love interest for no reason kind of
Yeah,
character.
but not even.
But you don't need. Isn't she the person to kind of lead him through the game? Like they need somebody.
They didn't need that.
They need somebody who developed a personal relationship or a closer relationship so that they could like manipulate him closely while they're manipulating him from afar.
What about his lawyer?
Yeah, but that would only work somewhat. They need somebody who's in these situations to guide him because otherwise he's gonna be by himself. How is he gonna know to jump like?
Just cut the movie to an hour and a half, and then you got it.
That might be a good point. There was a point in this movie that I was like, you know what, this movie might be a little bit too long.
And it's only 2 hours, but it was still like for the plot. It's a basic plot, so.
Yeah, like even the end takes a while to wrap things up. And maybe they didn't need to take that long to be like congratulatory about how great the game went. You know,
it was so great.
Maybe they didn't even need to tie things up. Maybe they could have just ended with him like not dying and then hugging his brother, and then it'd just be done from there. Like they might not have needed the other 5 or 7 minutes that they had, and then the thing with Claire at the end.
Yeah, and then they go get coffee at an airport. Like, why?
Yeah, because that's just to satisfy this American, like it's such a U.S. film thing to have like just like romantic plots in every single movie. So it's almost like they told Fincher, okay, you're gonna have to have some sort of romantic thing in this movie,
or else
we're not making it. Which it's very likely conversation. Fincher's like, okay, fine.
Calls up Christine.
He made a very vague, never really realized. Because they never kiss, it never really escalates to the point that they're more than just, you know, they're not even friends because all their friendship's based on lies. So I don't even know what
they don't even know each other.
They don't even really know each other. So in that sense, it's realistic. But I don't know.
Only so
Does
far.
can she fall in love with every main character that she has to interact with, you know?
Yes.
Like
The
yeah,
lawyer.
the lawyer.
Or the husband, his ex-wife's new husband.
How do they get everyone? Oh, excuse me. Do they know? Did people know about the game,
Yeah.
or were they like just manipulated too, and then somebody told them about it after?
Oh yeah,
like,
if that many people are at a party, they've got to know about the game. How do people not know about it?
right.
Huh. Maybe they all had to sign legal waivers.
But that would be so complex to try to get all those people in on it, you know,
And it's hard to keep a secret
and not
that
mess
big.
up. Like the people have to not mess up. I think some of them didn't know about it until, like, the party. They were invited to the party or whatever.
It's hard to keep a secret that big with that many people.
Yeah, of course he was in Mexico, so maybe they spent the time that he was in Mexico preparing for the
I
last
guess.
part.
Huh.
They had to make it super dramatic, not because it was a movie, and they had to. That's why I'm just kidding. I don't know. They
There's
had to have a
drama in real
climax.
life. It's fine.
That's true. Sometimes I look around, I'm like, I'm in the game right now.
Ben,
Otherwise,
you did just say you really liked my story arc lately
yeah,
in real life. Ben's been watching too many movies.
I suppose that's probably not good when you're comparing your friends' lives to story arcs. You're like, I start analyzing them as, well, I don't think you're that original.
You'd be
You
like,
need to.
when you grow and change? When?
Yeah, I'm like, your arc hasn't been going very well. It's been pretty flat lately.
Yeah.
Well, at least Zach is arcing. That's what I call it, arcing.
Yeah.
The thing is, you arc for more than 2 hours in real life.
What?
But like, you do these like it's like waves. Though.
Okay.
It's like you arc and then you go down, you go up, you go down. Because you can't always be going up or down.
Why not?
Because that would just be
Un-
completely unrealistic to how
unattainable
life
knowledge.
works. Unattainable. Yeah, exactly. I mean, at some point you can't go that far up. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know if you can quantify everything that you're arcing.
Yes,
you know?
you can.
You could be going down in one area of your life and going up in another area of your life. But then you can't even understand the different parts of your life enough to be able to like put them into parts.
Four
like they
basic
all merge
parts.
together.
Love. Sadness. Hatred. And evil. Those are the 4 parts of us.
Okay, that's interesting.
Sadness, hatred, and evil. And
So
love.
3 of the parts are bad and one of them is good.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So you want to have love counteract the other 3.
That's not what I'm saying.
Sadness isn't always bad though, because sadness is an emotion.
I like sadness.
Evil
For me.
is always bad though,
Well, yeah.
and a hatred is bad, except for when you hate evil. Then it's good.
But is it?
Yeah, if you hate evil, you love what is good and hate what is evil, right?
Yes.
So
What if
hatred is a word like anything else. It's just you can use. Well, it's not a word. It's an actual.
What if you hate hatred?
That is. I think that's good because I think hate. That okay. This gets where it gets confusing because if you define hatred as evil, then you can't hate evil because hatred is evil. So you're hating hate, and that's evil because hate is evil. So you can't hate if.
Yeah, but that's if you define hatred as evil, though. I wouldn't define it like
That's
that.
why you can't define hatred as evil, because
Yeah.
otherwise you lose yourself in the loop.
Time loop.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a word for that. That if I ask my brother,
Paradox?
yeah, it's a paradox. That's exactly it. Okay, so enough of that. What did you think about the stock market? Invest in Michael Douglas
Oh,
as the investment banker?
if I were watching this, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
No.
You'd be like, this is like, oh no, Michael Douglas is in, sort of a low grade action movie. Because at this point, David Fincher had done Alien 3, which nobody liked, apparently. I've never watched any of the Alien movies, but apparently people did not like Alien 3. And then he did 7, which lots of people liked, and I like. It's very good. And then he did this movie. So people still don't know that David... I think even investing in David Fincher might have been like a little bit of a risk at this point, because it's like he did 7, and I think most people, the consensus was positive on 7, and even this movie, it was liked by like Roger Ebert and some of the big critics, but it didn't do as well. And like the Wikipedia article said, it had more middling box office returns. So it was good that Fincher made Fight Club when he did because he really needed that.
Yeah, but that was after.
That was
so
after.
I would not
That's what I'm saying.
invest
You
in
wouldn't
this,
know
yeah.
until Fight Club that Fincher was a guy worth investing in. Because Seven could have been a one-hit wonder, and The Game could have been a sign that he was going downhill. Because after Seven, you could be like, oh, he's never gonna make anything better than that.
And I'd probably miss out on the investment, but if I were there, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
On
exactly.
anything.
I don't think I would invest in Sean Penn. I really like Sean Penn in this movie, but I don't know. And then he's in Lord of the Rings, and he wins 2 Academy Awards, so that would have been another miss in terms of. But it just didn't necessarily sign enough that he was going to be big. Although I did like him a lot, but I just don't know that at the time I would be like, because of just this movie. And I definitely would not have invested in that Deborah, whatever her name is, Kara Unger. I mean, she's just not convinced, and she wasn't really in anything that big after that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Everyone else is kind of like, there's a couple of people in this movie that I'm like, I have seen that person somewhere, but some of them I don't think I actually had, and I just conflated them with like this guy. He looks so familiar. He has to have been in something that I've watched, but I can't put my finger on what it is. You know, maybe he was in a TV show. It's incredibly. Was he in The Office?
No, probably
No,
not.
He was not in The Office. See, he just has a face that seems like I've seen him somewhere, but I can't like off the list that I'm looking at real quickly. Can't see anything. And then this lady, for some reason, she was the old lady. She reminded me of somebody, but again, it was like I don't think it was anybody I actually knew. So, Carol Baker, I guess. But everyone else was just like, yeah, no investing going on here. And we probably would have lost because of that. So this is a movie that maybe was not a good pointer to whether it was a bull or a bear market.
Which is good. I mean, it's good that he went up, even though when he wouldn't have been expected to, I guess.
The thing that's I guess is like this is a weaker Fincher movie, which is good because it's still a fairly strong movie, even though it's weaker for him.
Yeah.
Even though it's probably like up there in terms of my favorites.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, bad.
Of his. But I can never decide because I like all of them. That's what I don't like about Fincher. It's like it's hard to differentiate.
You don't like that you like him so much?
Yeah, it's like it's too confusing to like try to figure out. I know it doesn't matter.
In that case, I don't like you, Ben.
Because you don't know how you don't like how you like me so much.
Yeah.
Aww. Wow, that made up for everything
Yeah,
else you
now we're
said about me.
even. Now I don't have to say anything else.
Yeah. Okay, well that's a good way to come toward the ends of the episode because we can only go downhill from there. My final conclusion on this is, if you really like puzzles, I hope that you already seen this and you can be like, this is a good twisty turny movie that I enjoyed and it was fun, even if it wasn't that deep.
And my final conclusion is, if you like pseudo deep movies that have a pretty good plot line, pretty good main character, and that's it, then you'll like this movie a lot, because that's exactly what I described this movie as.
I think Zach described the type of movie that I like, because Donnie Darko is my favorite movie. I think you could describe it the exact same way.
There are good side characters in Donnie Darko.
That's a good point. There are good, and it's kind of funny too.
Uh-huh.
So maybe there's a couple more redeeming qualities about Donnie Darko other than the fact that it's pseudo-intellectual and has an engaging first character.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, it's time to close up the vault.
Can I close it?
Yeah.
Okay. Say now it's time again.
Now it's time to close the
Yes.
vault.